This fall at Kenilworth Union Church, Katie and Christine and I are preaching a sermon series called WJDA, What Did Jesus Ask?, in which we're looking at 13 of the questions Jesus asked in the four Gospels, including this one from the Gospel according to St. John. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again to take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. Pray with me. Triune God, be in the midst of us as we give thanks for those who've gone from the sight of earthly eyes. They, in your nearer presence, still worship with us in the mystery of the one family in heaven and on earth. Tell them how much we love them and how we miss them and how we long for the day when we shall meet with them again. Through Christ. Amen. It's no accident that Halloween and All Saints' Day are adjacent to each other on consecutive days. As you know, the word Halloween is a contraction of All Hallows' Eve, All Saints' Eve. And both holidays are essentially trying to answer the same question. What happens to us when we die? Or what are the dead doing? The concepts soul and ghost are adjacent to each other. Both refer to what remains of our essential existence when the body is gone. So, what do you make of Halloween's explosion in popularity over the last 10 years or so? This year, Americans will spend $12 billion on Halloween, just a tiny fraction of the $900 billion we'll spend on Christmas, but still. My neighbors keep trying to terrify me with their yard decorations. And what about the stories we tell about what the dead are doing? We have this endless speculation about what happens to us after we die. George Saunders' novel, Lincoln and the Bardo, is about all the conversations the stricken president has with those ghosts that are hanging around in the graveyard where he visits over and over and over again to be with the corpse of his 11-year-old son, Willie, who is dead from typhoid fever. All of these ghosts are hanging around that crypt because when they died, they had unfinished business. And they can't escape to heaven or cross the river Styx or take their eternal rest in Elysian fields until they have taken care of this business. My wife and daughter are in New York this afternoon to see a performance on Broadway of Our Town with Jim Parsons as the stage manager. Jim Parsons of Big Bang Theory fame. The third act of Our Town, which occurs, of course, in the cemetery, is trying to answer the question, what are the dead doing? The film Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore trying to answer the same questions. It's about a ghost who has unfinished business at his death. The Bruce Willis character in The Sixth Sense has unfinished business when he dies, so he can't leave to rest until he takes care of that. Probably no one in here has seen the 2017 film A Ghost Story with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, which is a shame because it's a very, very provocative film. And my favorite is Ghost Town, the film from 2008, in which Ricky Gervais plays a misanthropic and disagreeable dentist who dies on the operating table for 7 minutes and then is revived and thereby can see and communicate with all of the ghosts who are always haunting the island of Manhattan because they have unfinished business. And the Ricky Gervais character tries to help them with this unfinished business. One little boy loses his father to death and his favorite stuffed toy on the same day. The little boy can't sleep. And so the dead father is a ghost and can't leave until he tells his son that the stuffed animal is under the front seat of the car. Another construction worker is killed in a construction accident and he can't leave till he can convince his surviving buddy, who blames himself, that it wasn't his fault. They're here until they can take care of this business, and the Ricky Gervais character takes care of it for them. Very, very, very sweet story. All of these stories are retellings of an ancient legend. The legend goes that if a person dies and his body is not buried, he cannot leave for Valhalla until that body is buried, till that sacred obligation is taken care of. And if a stranger takes it upon himself to bury the body, the ghost is very appreciative because now he can leave. You know what such folk are called? The Grateful Dead. The disciples wonder what will happen to them when they die. You see, they're living in first century Palestine when almost every Jew believed that death was the final destination. Belief in the life of a world to come was scattered and rare and anemic, and it was Jesus himself who solidified the Judeo-Christian hope of a life in the world to come. And so the disciples asked Jesus, what happens to us when we die? And typical rabbi, Jesus answers their question with a question. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? For Jesus, death is not the final destination. There is another world beyond the walls of space and time. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. It's an outlandish claim, far-fetched, at least as far-fetched as Lincoln in the Bardo or Our Town or Ghost Town or A Ghost Story. 109 billion people have died in human history. So far, not one's come back with credible evidence of the life of a world to come, that there is a mansion with room for us all. On the other hand, you saw that coming, didn't you? On the other hand, my life would be harder and sadder without such a hope. One atheist was very happy in her atheistic convictions that there was no God and that death was the final destination. She only rued those convictions when someone died because she had no good story to tell when someone died. It took her 3 weeks to tell the kids that the cat had died, because she had no story to tell them, nothing hopeful to present to them. Now, the cat didn't like the kids anyway and would disappear for days at a time to far corners of the house, so the kids had not missed the cat, but she couldn't tell them because she had no good story. She didn't need to worry. The only question they had is, can we get a kitten? Randy Whitchurst died a couple of weeks ago. Randy was one of my favorites because Randy loved golden retrievers even more than I did. In his 75 years, Randy Whitchurst owned 12 golden retrievers. I found that pretty remarkable because I'm on my 4th, and I thought that was a lot. Of the 12 golden retrievers, 11 of them were called Jeff. The 12th golden retriever, who survives Randy, is named Gus. Now, during his lifetime, Randy, in the last few years, was a fierce defender of Dog Beach in Winnetka. Dog Beach in Winnetka is actually called Centennial Park, but we call it Dog Beach because it's the only beach in town where you can take your furry, four-footed friends. And with all that land swap stuff going on over there, with that mansion going up, there was some talk of moving Dog Beach, and Randy said, no, let's keep it here. And he really did a favor for all of us who like to take our dogs to Dog Beach. I loved Randy. Randy died in August. He'd been sick for about a year with cancer before that, but when the end came, it was soon sad and sudden. Randy had this beloved place up in Door County, Wisconsin, on Rowley Bay, and that's where he was when he died, with his whole family and Gus surrounding him. And when we buried Randy a couple of weeks ago, this is what I said at his funeral. You know what I see on the far side of the grave, I said? I see the rocks and beaches of your beloved Wisconsin peninsula. I see the shimmering waters of Rowley Bay. I see battalions of golden retrievers cavorting in the waves. Now that was way more than I knew. That may have been way more than I should have said. Who knows what paradise is like, or even if there is one. But at times like that, I lean on Jesus' promise. And really, what I was doing was just shifting his metaphor a little bit from the Father's house to a Lake Michigan beach. Friday was All Saints' Day. All Saints' Day is the time in the church year when we remind ourselves that just the thinnest, most diaphanous scrim separates this world from the next. All Saints' Day is the day we remind ourselves that those we have loved and lost have merely transferred their membership from the church militant to the church triumphant. They are among us still. And that is why many, many churches surround their building with their dead. Yes, in many churches, you have to climb through the memorial garden to enter the front door. That's very intentional. And so every morning, they're just on the other side of this wall. So every Sunday morning, when we sing our hymns and pray our prayers and hear the good news of the gospel, they're with us. If it were not so, would I have told you?